It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Okay, I'm going to talk about HP, Amplify, and SoB in a minute. But before I do that, I want to share with you an email that I got in LinkedIn over the weekend. And the email came to me from someone that's been in the industry for about 25, 30 years, same tenure as me. And what the person was saying is, Ray, I'm talking to suppliers and dealers out there, and, your messages are awful negative. They don't like you because you're too negative. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I appreciate it. And I was very, I'm very appreciative anytime, any feedback I get. But folks, here's the reality. If I sat around and I tried to figure out how to make a message and whitewash the thing to death like most of the media in our industry does before I actually did a video, I wouldn't be able to do the end of the day with Ray. I'd probably get one video out of a month. I mean, it would take days and days and days to filter out all the noise and nonsense and try to figure out what people really want to hear that makes them feel good. And I don't care about any of that stuff. I want to cause conversations that make people go have deeper, broader conversations. And I've been doing it for the last 2.5 years. And there's a whole lot of people that appreciate the message. They don't look at it as a negative message. They look at it as a message that causes and sparks their imaginations to start asking different questions. That's what this is all about. And when that happens, I get so excited. And I get a lot of emails. And I get a lot of, people telling me that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be still doing this. If I thought the whole world was out there thinking I was just a big negative nightmare, eventually I'd have gave up. There's a whole lot of people out there that understand that my motives aren't to be a negative person for the Document Imaging channel. My motives are to shake shit up, to make people ask different questions. And so what I want to do really quick before I get into the Amplify thing is I want to talk about how negatives quickly become the new positive. And I want everybody to think about this. With the advancements in awareness, what was once considered a negative disruption to the status quo quickly becomes a positive reality. What was once considered a negative disruption to the status quo quickly becomes a positive reality. And now I want you all to think about a couple of the things. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of them, but just a couple of them. I want you to think about the A3 to A4 conversations I've been having for the last 2.5, 3 years. Folks, in the beginning, those were very negative. People thought it was terrible. Ray, you're such a negative person. You're calling us overselling and overspeccing. You're calling us product-centric nuts. This is such a negative message. It's not about A4. It's not about paper. You're being too negative. People need to do booklets. There was just so much noise around why they couldn't make the migration from A3 to A4. And anybody that was trying to disrupt that status quo, it's easy to make that a negative conversation. It's easy to corral in those pastures of least resistance when people don't like what they hear. Trust me, you'll find them. They'll gather around with you all the time, talking about how much they hate progress. It's the reality of life. But those that understand that sooner or later, things do change, and when they start to see the realities in the marketplace, guess what? They start embracing it. My thinking is, why don't we embrace it before it becomes a problem? And that's why the end of the day with Ray exists. Let's talk about it now. Let's stir things up. Let's shake up some status quo and cause people to have deeper, broader conversations, right? That's what it's all about. The other conversation is OEMs overreaching. It was like 10 months ago or so, I started this thing with Amplify. I hate this contract. As I talk to dealers around the country, they're telling me how much they hate it. Folks, this isn't 1 or 2 people saying how much they hate it. This is a whole lot of people saying how much they hate it. I've had Bob Goldberg on the end of the day with Ray talking about it. But remember in the beginning, there wasn't a whole lot of people talking about it. Hardly anybody was talking about it. But I didn't wait. I didn't wait till it became so loud in the marketplace. And now all of a sudden, let's all start talking about it. But folks, those were good conversations back then. But I'm sure a lot of people thought they were negative. Oh, I love HP. HP's such a great company. And Ray's being awful negative on HP. Remember with the acronyms and stuff? But guess what, my friends? That negativity is turning into positivity. Our friend Frank Canada's talked about the Amplify contract at least twice on Fridays with Frank. He's had Bob Goldberg on. I've had Bob Goldberg on. The marketplace is starting to pay attention to this Amplify contract. They're asking HP deeper questions. And so today, I want to bring up a couple more things I noticed on the contract. Let's just jump right into that because it's a little bit disturbing. So I have this slide. It's called Amplifying Your OEM's Competitive Knowledge. Supply share of business is part of the Amplify contract. There's a section in there. It's called Supply Share of Business. Folks, I couldn't have made this stuff up. The marketing department came up with an acronym for share of business. They call it SoB. This is true. This is from the HP marketing department. This isn't an acronym I made up. I would have loved to been able to make that up. SoB, you know, can you imagine? The SoB part of the Amplify contract. So anyway, they have this supply share of business, part of the Amplify contract. I'm kind of looking through this thing a little bit. And folks, I got to be honest with you. It's a little bit interesting, so I want to highlight some stuff on my Sharp interactive board here. I got my magic pen in my hand. But this SoB part of the I just love that acronym, SoB. Can you imagine you're at this trade show and you hear a bunch of distributors and resellers are all hanging around together. They're talking about, you hear the word SoB, SoB, SoB. I mean, if it was me, I would think they would be talking about the end of the day with Ray. But now we know when you hear that, you hear a group of people and they keep saying SoB, they could be talking about the Amplify contract. So it's a great acronym. But anyway, what it says up here in the first bullet point, it says, it's key to harnessing intelligence and insights, helping partners in HP to be more competitive and more capable of delivering better business outcomes for customers. So let me circle a couple of words. Intelligence, they want to harness intelligence. That means gather data. They want to get insights from that intelligence, so they got to mine the data, look through it. And they want to help partners, you know, resellers and distributors, and of course, HP, they got to help HP to be more competitive, got to get more competitive. This insights and this data will help us be more competitive. And then capable of delivering better outcomes for our customers. So we all know real quick, the outcome of a customer of HP print or any print company is a printed piece of paper or a copied sheet of paper. It's information on a piece of paper. That's the outcome. You're consuming information on paper. But then there's another bullet point that says data going to third-party market bridge every 6 months. So third party, that's, you know, we hear a lot of people talking about the Amplify contract and the data, and then of course HP says the data's safe and all that stuff. We don't hear a lot of people talking about third party people getting the data. So I just want to make sure we're talking about that too. And I'm sure that Market Bridge and HP have some kind of contract between them, but it's still third party involved now. One day there might be a fourth, who knows. But they, you know, Market Bridge, they're out there, you can Google them. And then it says at the bottom, HP will only receive aggregated SoB information. I love that acronym. HP will only receive aggregated SoB information split for toner and ink, as well as mono and color. This is where it gets a little interesting. No information at SKU level or competitors' brands breakdown information is shared with HP. So I want you to think about this. We're doing all of this to gather intelligence so we can get some insights, so we can be competitive and deliver better business outcomes for our customers. But the only data that HP is getting to be able to do all these things is whether or not it was toner or ink or black and white or color. How in the hell is that data going to help them deliver better outcomes for the customers? Is Market Bridge collecting all this data and then one day they're going to come to HP and say, hey, we have a great program we want to sell you based on all this data? You see, I don't understand what this means. Now, like I said a couple of videos ago, you know, I'm a guy that just got out of high school, didn't go to college, don't have the MBA. So maybe some of the MBAs at HP can put in the comments exactly what in the hell getting information on about whether or not it was toner or ink, black and white or color, is going to help HP deliver better outcomes to customers. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't make any damn sense to me. It really doesn't. So I think the acronym of the SoB is a pretty good thing. You know, it's kind of a complicated contract. SoB makes a great acronym. But ladies and gentlemen, before I end, I want to share one more slide with you. Let me close this off here, because I still think about this negative and positive things. I don't like to get bothered by that too much, because I really am on a mission to help my reseller friends, to help those dealers navigate these turbulent times that we're in, because the industry is declining. There's no way to make that positive. It's in a decline. It's in a pretty big decline too. But folks, there's a few more things out there that could appear to be negative, so I want to get those out on the table right now, because I'm not going to change the way I talk about them. But keep in mind, sooner or later, these things will in fact become positive things. They'll be embraced by all the rest of the media. Everybody will be talking about them. Things will be moving along. Progress will happen. So keep in mind, negatives become the new positives. But here's something negative. The threats to dealer regarding disruptive acquisitions. I'm going to keep talking about who's going to come and take away your business, who's going to deliver a better experience to your customer and take away your great relationships, because it's through those conversations. And folks, I don't just make this stuff up. I do some research. I think about it. I watch what's happening. because a lot of this is already happening. And I share that with you to help you have deeper, broader conversations. OEMs struggling under the weight of losses. I'll still talk about that. I'll still talk about all the OEMs and share their numbers and where I think there's a little bit of lunacy in those numbers, because it's through those conversations that help prepare dealers for what could actually happen. And folks, remember, a lot of those conversations would have been really negative a few months ago regarding one OEM, right? Really negative, right? You're being so negative. But then it actually came true. It actually came true, and our answer to it was, let's squash the rumors after it already happened. Crazy stuff. Remember workers changing the competition. Remote workers changing the competition. Folks, I've talked about remote workers for a long time, back as far as 2017, and how when the workers out in the world become more independent and more remote, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be new competitors coming to the SMB to SMB space because the landscape's changed. E-commerce. Folks, we're still talking about e-commerce, and sometimes people think it's so negative. Oh, Ray, we have all these things we do in service. We can't just sell stuff online. Norma Connigan has been talking about e-commerce for a long time. A lot of people think those conversations are negative. They sure as hell are negative to the status quo of an A3 industry. Absolutely. They're going to appear to be extremely negative. But sooner or later, negative becomes positive. Leasing revolution. Folks, the leasing revolution I started a while back, I can't get one leasing company in the world to even understand how to have a conversation about that. They don't want to disrupt the status quo of leasing. They don't want to talk about things that we probably should be talking about. But we'll continue to challenge that. We'll continue to have those conversations because, again, those negative things that they think or they perceive to be negative will eventually one day be positive. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about changing the game, having different conversations to shake shit up. That's what it's all about. Because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.